It's too big. It's too wide. It won't fit. He's got a big ego.
Big ego.
Such a big ego.
Such a big ego.
From De Facto Books, I'm J.Nicholee.
And I'm Vdiggitydawg.
And this is Two Peas in a Pod. Smoking now.
Smoking commence now. Boop, boop, boop.
So, may I ask you, I heard that.
Did you hear my knee pop?
Yeah, you should
What
get
is
that checked out.
No, like literally, you just wait until you hit
Don't curse
your
me.
40s with all the cheerleading injuries, all the dancing injuries,
Don't talk to me like
all
that.
those 6 to 8 inch heels. Your feet
You're
are going to
talking to me
literally
naughty.
break down like mine. You get like this weird hip tension. Everything's in your low back storage.
The lower back
Your
storage.
Yes, your discs in your low back are like weirdly weak.
You're like, and you know what a lower back storage is.
Yes, you know where like all you know which vertebra is where, like the count of them. You like know. I have had so many injuries to my knee and ankles at this point.
That's
Girl, I
funny.
hit myself in the ankle yesterday in the gym with the weight, and it pinged on that like ankle, bone right on the corner, like in that way where it's like that funny bone pain. But you wake up the next morning and it's literally bruised.
Yeah.
Why? Is it 10 times worse? So
No.
that's the story of my, I don't know, meaningless story.
I don't know if I asked that, but what do you think ego is?
Bitch, why? What is wrong with us? Okay, really though? You didn't ask me that. You said you started to ask me a question, and my knee popped, and you was finna talk to me like I need to work it out, like your knees don't pop.
Okay, touche. You're right. But
What do you want to ask me?
I want to ask you, what do you think ego means?
Oh, you're just gonna jump right in.
Yeah.
I don't even get like a lead in about what we're talking about. Or
No,
anything.
because before I tell you what it means, I want to know what what's the first definition that comes to your
I
mind?
feel like we're gonna be talking about ego today.
Yeah, that's fucking right.
Jasmine's not playing around
I
this
don't like
week.
to bullshit, okay?
Jasmine wants
Okay.
she wants to soul snatch right in the first 7 minutes of the potty.
Snatch. He wants to dive in it. He wants to dive in it. Snatch.
Okay. How many songs are we?
So-
We're gonna be paying rights at the end of this season, and I don't have any money.
Stop and just tell me which the fuck you think.
I'm avoiding the question, Jasmine, because it makes me vulnerable.
Touche, it does.
Okay. All right. So literally, we've had this conversation so many times that I don't want my response to be dry.
Make it juicy.
So pass the blunt, and that will help me out.
Okay, here.
Friends. So really, I think ego is this like, I'm going to say it like how I feel it. It's like this voice in your head, right? That tells you that like you should feel wronged in a situation. It's that voice in your head that says, I'm wounded, or I've been injured or attacked here. Or it's the voice in your head that says, why not me? Or I'm glad that didn't happen to me. Or me, I, me, my, me, mine, me. Instead of, oh, wow, you're going through that. Even if I could never imagine myself being in that situation, recognizing that you two are human. And ifin I find myself in that situation, I too hope someone would have the compassion to see me through it as well. So it's just stepping outside of that fear-based child voice inside that tells us we're not good enough in some way. And so we project
Most
that
definitely.
in like some of us project it in a real ugly way, right? Where it's like we lash out at people, or we get petty, or
Yeah. That's real. That's
you know,
the realness. Yeah.
or we block people, or we leave people on red, or we we take it out. We'll still be all up in their space, but we're like, all like, yeah, okay, whatever, girl. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
It's our lower self really coming to the forefront and standing up front and being our main representative is what it is.
And not honoring, right, our truest, highest self. I always think that too. Like when I see my ego lash out, I'm like, ew, that like does not even honor who the fuck you are right now. So why did you let that come out? But
recognizing that when it happens, that's the ticket, right? Because then it's reflecting and going, oh snap,
I'm human.
I'm an asshole. Let me reconvene. And then the third step would be going back to that person and having that conversation where it's like, hey, I'm an asshole.
Yeah,
totally, you didn't deserve that. Let's have a conversation where my ego doesn't come.
Yeah, let me set that aside and come back to you.
Check in.
For facts. Yeah, no, when I first heard about ego, I definitely thought it was just like someone who was full of themselves, right? Like they just thought that they're better than everyone, which isn't wrong. That's egotistical, right? That's being egotistical. But so we're
death by blunt.
Sorry. Today we're talking about Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. I bought this book for you because I read it
last year,
and I just felt like the whole world needed to read it. So I was like,
and I'm literally sitting here without my copy because I've passed it on to a friend who like desperately needed it and was I'm like dying over here because I choked on the blunt, but who needed it. And was in like a space where when they were talking to me about their issue, I was like, oh snap. I literally jumped up and went and grabbed the book off my shelf. And I was like, I've got something for you. So you don't have to feel this way about yourself. And that's totally what I think books are because that's my love language anyway. But is you have to pass them on. There are books, I always say this, that can be your Bible.
We're here.
Yeah, I mean, it is, right? But it is the whole reason we exist. And the blunts too. But yeah, it is because you have to pass them on. And I think there's this thing where I'm like, I have to have these certain books that are like my book Bibles, right? I have to reread them. And we talk about that. This for you is one of those. You'll revisit. Like if people could see, and they can if they subscribe to our Patreon, because we're recording this conversation on video right now. They can see your raggedy ass book. It has like 15 Post-its coming out. It has stains and crust on the side. Literally, the corners are chewed off by the dog. And it has notes in it.
No, it's rubbed off. It's just rubbed off from being carried across the world.
But it's because you need this book and you need to go back to it. And like for me, I have those books as well. Yeah. But I still think it's cool to buy extra copies of your favorite book and keep them to give away to
give
people.
Other people.
Yeah, because it's like you can't give yours away because you need those notes and like those go backs, right? But so I do that. But that was one of the books for me. I was like, oh, this I need to pass on. But then I was like, oh, snap. I didn't do my homework. But it's cool. It's cool. I'm going to copy off yours today.
Eckhart, his definition is when every thought absorbs your attention completely. When you're so identified with the voice in your head and the emotions that accompany it that you lose yourself in every thought and every emotion. Then you are totally identified with form and therefore in the grip of ego. Ego is a say that word for me?
What are we saying? Conglomeration.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means?
Tell me. Go ahead and read it.
Well, ego is a conglomeration of recurring thought forms and conditioned mental, emotional patterns that are invested with the sense of I, a sense of self. So its conglomeration is like a grouping, an assortment of patterns, and then it lists the patterns, right? Or, which is reoccurring thoughts, mental, emotional patterns, and basically everything focusing around the me, which is what we just said before we got to the definition.
Me, I.
Ooh, so I literally got that question right,
she
teacher.
Did.
And I didn't even do my homework, y'all. You see how that is?
I love that.
I'm
You're a
literally
smart cookie.
the teacher's pet right now. I want one of those scratch and sniff stickers.
Snickers. They got those.
I'm not high in class, teacher. My bad.
It ain't me.
It was me.
It ain't me.
Every day.
It ain't me. So no, now I started the year thinking when we first spoke about ego, I was like pretty grounded and able to be aware of it. Okay. And then somewhere along the way, I lost that sense of consciousness, I felt like. And And it was just recently, like it was only a short little period, but I even identified it.
Is that whenever we cried in the alley?
Yeah.
Again?
Like that period before that, I was so consumed by my mind that,
because that's the human condition is we fall in and out of like states of consciousness and awareness. And the whole entire goal of our existence is to try to remain in that at all times with all people.
Right.
Literally, we live here though. So, I mean,
it's hard.
You can get out of your consciousness with somebody just walk into your parking lot and get it in your car because
driving
the motherfucker want to run up and touch your elbow talking about, hey, Miss Fine Thing.
Yeah.
I'm out of my hole. And my ego is definitely there in that moment, right? Because it's like, got to protect me. But
true. No, I feel that.
It's weird. And so
100%.
And
weird.
People are not happy is the thing, as I feel very much like since the last year and a half. Like this year has been a real year of like weariness for people. And a lot of like sadness, I think, and downtime with it. And so everyone's doing this like projection of like things to come that are going to be more productive in all areas of their life. But I think it's because they're doing the same thing you're talking about, which is being able to learn that you fall back, but check your ego and then realize that you can come out of that space and not be too judgmental or harsh about yourself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is the message that you and I have been trying to kind of get across in our community spaces lately too, which is fucking rest, y'all. Like nobody expects any of us to like be at 100 at all times. And the fact that most of us who run these organizations, we all have full-time jobs outside of here as well and children. It's a lot of things. And then we still show up for everybody's shit. And it's just like, but a lot of us, I learned, are doing it out of obligation or fear that people are going to judge you because you weren't showing up enough. And it's like, what the fuck?
Which is ego in itself,
It is, because
right?
it's like what you're doing is you're literally creating the thing that you're wanting to avoid.
Yeah, you're identifying with this thought of what people may think of you, right? And,
yes.
And that's what ego is identifying with the thought. So you literally just have to be, and that's one thing that I see both of us
like
doing more.
Self-care over ego.
Is we've been real with our community.
Yes.
We've been like, hey, listen, we ain't here.
We're canceling today.
We're not showing up.
This is happening.
Because we're doing, and people are
we
respecting
need to rest.
that more.
Yeah, well, that's why we're doing this potluck event that's coming up. In lieu of what some listeners might not know is, although we talk about it nonstop, so you should just, if not, if you haven't subscribed, click that button so that you can hear all of the episodes. But if you don't know, we always host an event after the end of our book club season where we put on a showcase with different performers, and then we have vendors from our community. And that's work, right? That's like a whole, like, y'all, that's work. Because our events are lit and it goes well. And
we would be putting on an event around Christmas time.
Yeah, like we would be doing an event at Christmas, which is be crazy for one. Well, girl, we'd probably bump it to the 1st of January, but either way, like we are tired and we know that the thing is what we see in our community is that they need rest, and our community are our vendors and are our performers.
Yeah.
So to take away from them
just
to have an event is about our ego. Yeah, it's about, we need to shine and show everybody that we got this still and we're doing
that
it.
We
and
can
of course,
do this. And then halfway through it, we'd be like, why the fuck
I'd
are
be in the alley. We'd be crying in the alley talking about, I want to quit. We just cancel, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so like I did last year.
And then God throws Derek B in our life.
And then Derek B comes along and saves the day. But yeah, literally, though I think that us recognizing in them that they need a rest place, but also still wanting to spend time with them is like super important message to say that like, it's not about me and this isn't about my ego. It's just about my love for my community and wanting to create a space where there is no egos. Literally, y'all can leave that shit at home when you come to the potluck. And like, we're all going to just have fun. And like, there's no, like, even if you don't, because even if you're like, oh, but they're asking me to bring a dish or whatever, and that's too much for me. Like, because please believe I can have an anxiety attack about having to make a meal if I'm stressed out too. Don't just come without it and show up anyway.
What's funny is when you bring up anxiety, this book helped me cure my anxiety because anxiety is literally...
No, you cured your anxiety. The book was just a tool.
A tool. Facts. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, because it helped me not identify with a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
you're not the problem.
Yeah,
you're creating it in your mind.
I'm identifying with these thoughts
Yes.
and making myself go crazy. And so if I can, so he talks about being able to how to start to dissolve the ego is to step outside and become aware of it. Like you said, the first step is becoming aware that, okay, I just had that thought. Let me, girl, ha ha ha.
I need a little quiet. I think we need a timeout with ourselves sometimes. Like, put yourself in timeout.
Yeah, meditate.
Before you open your mouth and you feel the flare up, maybe just swerve to the other side of the room. Breathe. Or get off that phone call with whoever you're dealing with. Breathe, do whatever. Go take a walk outside, switch it up, put on some music.
Yes.
Sit quietly with yourself. Have an open, out loud conversation with yourself. I do that. I'll be like, you really just acted a whole ass fool in front of that lady at the vet and got fired. Yeah, I got fired from my vet for being my ego recently. I'm telling all this shit on the...
It's fine.
I literally
You're human.
Acted like an asshole.
You're not the only one that has done this.
My dog was dying, and he literally was, but like... I did not have to act the way I acted.
You were identifying with your emotions.
I did, and I did not recognize that anyone else mattered.
It
was me, and I was upset. Out. And the thing is, the funny part is, though, I was so aware when it was happening, when it was literally coming out of my mouth like word vomit, that I saw the future of, this is our last trip here. They are not going to want me to come back. And they're going to be real diplomatic. They sent me a letter in the mail, and it was like, we can tell we can't meet your needs anymore. Bye-bye. And I was like, oh.
Consequences, though. We have
I owned it, though. Yeah, I literally went back up there and personally apologized.
Tell the story. Yeah,
well, I went up there and personally apologized. I was like, there's no reason for me to have been a bitch to you. I was just being a total bitch. And you don't deserve it. And thank you for saving my dog anyway, even though I'm a bitch.
You're a true heart for that. Good job.
So, but I still don't feel good about it. I still literally... Because also the vet is like right next door to where I live, and I have to walk by all the time. And
you're like, hey,
and my dog, Prince, wants to go. He's always like, runs up, and I'm like, we can't go in there. We're fired, baby. We're fired.
That's too funny.
Yeah, so don't do that. Don't do that. Your ego it's not worth it, because... we really also don't know what people are going through at any given moment. So, like, your behavior towards them, acting out in ego, can do damage to people who are already kind of maybe on the brink of, like, losing it. Yeah. And it's just not cool, because that's why we're on the brink of losing it, because people don't have the patience to just not be in their ego and reflect on their behavior.
You know what's so funny is when I had this whole fiasco with my luggage situation that I couldn't get back from Lisbon, I had to speak to customer service so many times, and I would go off. But before I'd go off, I'd be like, listen, I know that you are just a person and you only represent this company, and that there is literally nothing that you can do. So when I'm saying this to you, please do not take it personally.
I remember this.
I'm so upset right now. And I'd be like, but how could you work for a company that feels...
So that's the phase. But that's the phase.
I still let it out.
That's the phase though where you're kind of like you're in your ego, but you know you are. So you're like not really fully out of it. You're kind of vacillating, and you're still an asshole.
Yes.
You're almost like a condescending, passive aggressive asshole.
Yeah.
And it's a Karen moment is what happens then. Because that's the Karen thing.
Like, I know I don't have to do this right now.
This is not my problem.
But I don't have to do this right now, but I'm going to do this right now because I can do this.
I don't have to have this item, but
by my
want
emotions.
It. Yeah.
I am entitled by my emotions.
It's about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, it's always a learning curve.
You're evolving.
We're evolving. We're growing.
I won't get fired from my next vet. I promise you that. I'm going to bring those bitches cookies every fucking time I go in.
I love y'all. I
love you guys. Do anything to my dogs. Probe his butthole. He loves it. And here's a cookie.
I feel that. No.
Okay, but so basically what we're talking about, though, is we literally just said, this is how you dissolve your ego, right? Is that you know better, you do better, right? The
moment you become aware.
Yeah, so take out your selfishness. That's a funny thing, though, that word selflessness. Do you know the actual definition of that?
Tell me.
I'm gonna let Merriam-Webster tell you, and not because like I think she's better than anyone, but I do not recommend using like Google for your dictionary. I will always preach that. It means having no concern for self. Okay, so think about that before I go forward with the definition, right?
Not identifying with
Having no concern for self. So put that into perspective. That's literally a spiritual practice.
That is the
no
spiritual
concern. None.
practice.
Zero, zilch, none.
That's exuding love.
Nada.
To the fullest.
No concern. Which means if you just, beyond this definition, before I go forward, walk outside your door every day and you have no concern. Now, people are going to say, what the fuck? I'm self-love. God damn it. I love myself. Me first. Me against the world, baby.
Yeah.
So how do I reconcile with this word? But then we have these same people out here talking about, I'm selfless. I'm doing selfless acts of kindness.
Yes.
That's what we call them.
Mm-hmm.
Selfless acts of kindness. Those are acts of ego to make you feel better about yourself for not doing more because your spirit and heart are telling you need to do more.
Yes.
But all you really have to do is have no concern for self. If you can just do that in your daily actions with every person, you can dissolve your ego fully. So the rest of the definition leads you to the actual synonym, which is unselfish, right? So if we go there, it's not selfish. Okay, right. Because now we're going to play on adjectives because they're just synonyms. But it goes to generous, which is liberal and giving, marked by abundance or ample proportions, characterized by noble or kindly spirit. Spirit.
So that's the thing. Like, ego is basically having the awareness that I am a part of this
the collective.
What I'm a part of is not I at all. It's a us. It's a we.
Well,
I'm replacing
even if you
I
don't
with us and
believe
we.
in like biblical creation story about like God made man and we're all like connected in that way, even if you don't believe that, because like I get that, like, because I also totally respect diverse spiritual perspectives, like to a fullest or whatever, because I was raised super weird, and we're not going to talk about that today, but we will, I'm sure, at some point. But even if you don't believe that, you have to understand that I'm a human, you're a human. So we definitely are not, I'm not a dog and you're not a cat. We identify as the same species, right? And so if you look at any pack animal group or group of Homo sapiens, mammals, right? They are designed to take care of one another in order to survive. So how are we any different, right? We literally need one another. And it's not just a physical need like I need shelter and food and you can help me get that easier. It's spiritually, I have to be connected to you in order to find my own spiritual purpose. I had to breathe there. That was like a lot of things I said.
And it was real. You were speaking that true heart
I literally
of
like
yours.
lost all of my whole thing. But yeah, no, it's like you have to understand that we are created to take care of one another at the most fundamental core of why we exist. That's it. Like, so and that means all of us, not even the people you don't like. Now,
Yes.
You don't have to like live with them.
Yeah.
You don't have to do business with
You
them.
have to.
But you have to have goodwill toward them. You shouldn't be trying to scam them and, snake them and get, be vindictive, even if they're doing it to you, which is so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that the most petty, vindictive ass
We love
coming
petty
behind
over
you,
here.
you're not going to see me coming at looking ass.
Yeah. No, most definitely. It's funny that you say spirituality because Eckhart touches on the core of the ego and how, because some people could probably say that this is, I could see a lot of people who may go to church in like a Baptist or something setting may have a few of these understandings in his book.
I just called out the Baptists.
Or, okay, I'm
Girl,
Christian.
Let's call them all out. It's Christian, period. It's
I'm sorry.
Catholicism.
I didn't mean to just subside.
No,
I
it's
meant
all
Christian.
of it. It's all of it. If
that's
listen,
the
and we live in
marijuana.
Texas, so it's church in Texas, period, right? You could say
Yeah.
Pentecostal, all of it is gonna do what you're about to say.
Right. So he says basically how it's hard for them to kind of believe in this thing of ego, right? Of this spiritual oneness with all, right? Sometimes because sometimes the religions are against other religions in a sense.
Well, because we get wrapped up in the
labels and the forms,
right, and the theories,
and we
of
identify
like God as man stuff.
Yeah. So he says spiritual realization is to see clearly that what I perceive, experience, think, or feel is ultimately not who I am, that I cannot find myself in all those things that continuously pass away. And he said, when Jesus said, deny thyself, what he meant was negate and thus undo the illusion of self. If the self, ego, were truly who I am, it would be absurd to deny it.
Yeah, but isn't that the whole message of Jesus and of himself coming in a human form is to teach us to dissolve our ego?
Yeah.
That's really the story.
That's really what it is.
No, it is.
That's the story
but see,
of every religion.
But we're so fucked up as humans with egos that we needed a whole ass human like man as God, the spirit that resides in all of us already, to come here. We're like, knock, knock on the door, bitches. Why the fuck can't you see what the fuck's going? Let me do all these theatrics over here for y'all.
Let me go hide in a tomb
and do all these shows for you because you're so whack that you can't just see your own true self and that you're here for one another.
Yeah, but that's the true meaning. Like even Buddhism, I studied Buddhism for a while, but that's like literally what Buddhism is.
But see,
like
that's why. But that's why many people that understand like the connection between all religions, because religion and spirituality, you know, people could debate
labels
that.
And
it's
forms.
just labels. It's that idea we've said before. There's many paths, but there's only one presence that connects all of us, and that's we're the same thing, all of us.
Yes.
At the very least, if you are totally
you got a heartbeat.
What is it? Atheist in thought and don't believe in any type of creationist theory in any way, and you're fully scientific in your presence, you have to still aware that we're the same species. So we can't just live alone because also we have to fuck to create each other. At the very least, we have to have contact and live amongst each other to survive as infants because you can't pop out and take care of yourself.
Right.
We are created to be together.
Yes.
And so why not make that an experience where we can know better and do better?
Yes.
And minus the selfishness. I think you were going to tell us something about
dissolving
the dissolving the ego part. You had a whole
yes
thing.
So the moment you become aware of the ego in you, it is strictly speaking no longer the ego but just an old conditioned mind pattern. Ego implies unawareness. I already said that. But basically what I want people to understand is that the voice of the ego is no more than a conditioned mind pattern, a thought. And whenever you notice that voice, you will also realize that you're not the voice, but you're the one who's aware of it. You're the one stepping aside.
Okay, you're going to have to run back that last little part for them because I think they need a rewind.
The voice of the ego is no more than a conditioned mind pattern, a thought. Whenever you notice that voice, you will also realize that you are not the voice, but the one who is aware of it.
So it's like, voice, can you hear me? Yeah, bitch, I hear you. Oh, that's me? Check yourself. And then you move on.
One question, how aware do you think people are out here, not in prison? How aware do you think people are out here of their ego?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can differentiate that question between prison and not prison. Because listen, if there's one thing I know about prison, which, you know, I don't live there clearly, and I can't be an expert, but I definitely have an understanding of it from life experiences with loved ones in prison, is that there's all kinds of people in prison just like there's all kinds of people out here, right? It's just if you have certain traumas that are not treated or you don't have the self-care routine or outlet to do that in prison, they can be exacerbated in a way that makes your outward behavior appear more egocentric, right? And then also you have to remember prisons are supposedly segregated by that other label of sex, right? So you're looking at like a lot of hormonal imbalance, right? Which I feel like we need all of that in this world. It works out differently. Because like, for example, there's certain things we have that happen in our life where we run to somebody, we run to our girlfriends or whatever, right? Versus like our spouse being our husband or our wife or whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, whatever label you've put on your own relationship over other people, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with because we have those alternative choices. So when you have all men locked up together, there's certain things they're just never going to engage in relationship-wise with each other. And a lot of that has to do with vulnerabilities because also you can't trust people that are living hand to mouth in order to survive. And if you don't know them from home before, because people are not looking out for your best interest. It is a very I, me culture because you'll die in there if you don't have the mindset to take care of yourself in a very protective,
But
way. So you have to lead with ego sometimes.
But was that not Jesus essentially, was being that one person who was like, no, I'm going to like still show everybody that
I can turn the other cheek and just like,
it takes a brave, courageous person. Okay,
but we have those people in our team. Literally, we're going to talk to one of them today.
Yeah.
Who do have that nature, who are very much aware of other people's situations, feelings, what they're going through first, and puts himself second, and does lead with that definition that we read, which is not the concern, even though he too has his own burdens. And
none of us are perfect. I think that's the biggest thing, is to notice that we all have ego, that we all are human. I think there is a bigger consciousness here. Like, as I see people out here in the free world, I think that there is a new awakening for us. And I hope that with us being able to do this work and being able to connect with people inside, that will bring that awakening, to them,
to the forefront,
so that we can have some Jesuses walking
they
around.
can but that's the thing, is we can all be Jesus Christo.
We are all Jesus.
Like, that's, I am him and he is me. Yeah, yes. Like, that's the bottom line. But you have to just tap into your inner Jesus and know that you are him. And
remember when we used to have those Jesus loves you?
Do you remember the "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets?
Yeah.
That was big.
Those were the jellies. Back in time. We should bring those back. But
yeah, what would two peas do? Because I feel like
we would
dig back into these books every single time, and we would have conversations with the rest of our teammates, which we are definitely going to do today.
Yes.
So this is kind of like a exclusive for us. We have not yet talked to one of our de facto teammates.
Sounds the horns.
Yes. So this is one of our, the horn. Yeah, Derek B. Pew, 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 pew. Oh, we love the pew, pew. Don't we? We love a good pew, pew, Derek B. Give us the pew, pew. We are going to talk to Mr. Mister, and he has been incarcerated for now going on 23 years, which is like almost a lifetime. So you were how old when he went to prison?
How old? Wait, how many years ago?
23 years ago.
I am 28, so I was 5 years old.
You were 5. Isn't that crazy? So your whole life, basically, he's been in there.
Damn, that's wild.
Yeah, it is. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and wait for his call, because you guys know in prison they have to call us from a payphone. And we'll get this connected, and we'll have this conversation with him.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
Girl, we paying everybody. I'm not paying Drake. Okay.
One thing about it.
This podcast is sponsored by Mary Jane.
Mary Jane is a kill.
What you on some Mary Jane right now?
I am actually. It cures everything, so maybe it'll cure the stutter on the next blunt.
Okay, let's light up another blunt then.
Mary Jane comes in all different types of strains.
Find the perfect one that works for you, and we'll find the one that works best for Jasmine's stutter.
Because without her, this podcast would not be possible.
Well, okay, so then we've been talking about ego. So, like, there's a whole lot of ego in that place where you live.
True.
When you first hear of ego, what do you think of? Like, where does your mind revert to?
Well, when I first hear of ego, the first thing that actually comes to my mind is probably somebody, an individual that pretty much have the wrong understanding about themselves as far as when it comes to being told what to do, how they can do it, and it's pretty much somebody that they head just be in the clouds and think too highly of themselves. That's pretty much the first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to ego.
That's what we had said earlier. Like, well, we get taught that ego means it's like a person who's too full of themselves, like conceited, and not cognizant of like the real perception that they're putting off to others, but that it goes deeper than that.
I do understand that it varies, but like that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I mean, I used to be real egotistical. My ego used to be in the seven heavens. I done king-sized it now because I done matured and grew up. Yeah, but I do understand, you know.
So, well, how did you check that though into a place where because that's not the person that I know. You're humble, and you're very much aware of your strengths and your worth and your value, right? But you're humble. So, how do you manage to manifest that in living in a place where you live in an ego-driven society where sometimes ego is a means of survival?
Basically, I mean, I'm, for one, just, you know, for the album, because the record too short. You know what I mean? For one, I'm very spiritual. You know, I'm rooted and grounded in my spirituality. You know, I do believe in God first in all things that I do, even though I do what I do, when I do it, or how I do it, I still keep in mind God. And I believe that, you know, in all things, when you begin to see God and everything in existence, you know what I mean? It's a real humbling experience. Where you can look at everything and say, hey, there's God involved in that. In nature, in life, everything, you know, but God has a way of dealing with an individual when it comes to the ego part, when it comes to humbling oneself or being humbled at the embarrassments of things not going the way your ego anticipated them to and all this all kind of stuff. But it basically is just growing up, being mature, you know, considering when you start to consider others, you know, because I really didn't give a damn as a youth about how others thought or what their opinion would be, or, you know, or even what they said. You know, I was one of them guys that what I said, it was law. You know what I mean? You move, I'm going to make you move. You know what I mean? You know, and that type of shit, it really was the cause of me acting out in a lot of violent ways, hurting people that I claimed to love or cared about, you know, things like that because of my ego. You know, it really started to understand love because, first of all, understanding, which a lot of people don't realize, understanding is two different words. Words don't have power. People give power. Words have definitions. You know, and according to the definition that one understands of that word, it will give it authority, it will give its power. You know, because the word very understanding meaning beneath the obvious, beneath that which you can see with the naked eye. Standing meaning perpendicular, upright. So when you look beneath the obvious, that which you can see with the naked eye, and extract truth, then you must stand perpendicular, upright on that. You know, and to understand love and understand others, you know, then, you know, it's a humbling experience. It'll kind of make you sit down and talk to your ego, and at the end of the day, be like, hey, you know, you're hurting that person, you know, but you say that you love that person. And you know, I'm a mama's boy, so, you know, I love my mama to death. I'm with
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yeah.
I love her to death. And when I realize, hey, I'm not the only one hurting. I'm not hurting myself, because, you know, I used to tell people, hey, I'm living my life, you know, but in realizing that I'm living my life, I got to realize that there's others that's living life with me. You know, I had to realize that, and the people that, by me living my life, I was hurting others. It's like driving your own car. You drive your car. This your car, but you got to drive for others. They call it defensive driving. You know, and that's pretty much how I live life, defensive driving, you know. But I had to realize and start taking in consideration others, especially those that I hold dear. So that within itself, you know, is humbling for me, or it was.
So how would the world, imagine how the world would be different if we treated everybody the way you're describing how you treat the people that are near and dear to you? Like, that would just change the whole algorithm of like the way we deal with each other, and maybe dissolve some of this ego.
I mean, that sounds like heaven.
I mean, but why we can't create that? I feel like, but that's the whole thing. I say this all the time. That's the kind of communities we have to create with like-minded people. And you have to, like, listen, sometimes you got to forget everybody you know, everything you know. If your past is toxic and you come from a place where you were taught not to respect human values, right? And so, like, we can create that community. It's not unreal to imagine. I feel like we do that now anyways, to be fair. I feel like we are that of which we are speaking.
Big facts. No doubt. It's no doubt it's attainable. I mean, but, that requires, for the gathering of like minds, just like you just said a while ago, and everybody got to be on the same page. Expectations have to be kind of like pushed to the side, because you can't hold one at your expectation. You got to hold them at their expectation, because holding somebody at your expectation is a recipe for disappointment. And this is why I always refer back to Betty Wright. I love that girl. She said, even though this is pertaining to like the community, but her words were just profound. She said, I was learning my man while I was earning
my man. Yes.
Young girls might not understand, and I just kind of like flip that to the side to where, you have to learn the people that you choose to be involved with, and earn them at the same time, and that's building a relationship. But I believe that it's not far-fetched, at all. It can be, put together.
Now, it's funny that you quoted that because so at the beginning of the podcast, we were, okay, so I'm finna pull it up. We were doing a song as well, and we were talking about how culture teaches us these messages, right, about ego. And it was, remember that song by Beyonce, Ego? And really, the song is a metaphor for a dude's dick, right? He got a big ego. Jasmine, sing it for him.
It's too big. It's too wide. It won't fit. He's got a big ego. Big ego. Such a big ego.
Such a big ego. Hey, Jasmine, what are you reading? What are you smoking?
What are you reading? What are you smoking? What are you reading? What are you smoking? What are you reading? What are you smoking? What are you reading? What are you smoking? What are you reading? What are you smoking? Reading and smoking.
Blunts.
Reading and smoking.
Blunts.
Reading and smoking. Reading and smoking. Reading and smoking. Reading and smoking. So, Vanessa, what are you reading? What are you smoking?
Well, right now, I'm smoking a camo. What is this? Mango wrap with some ganja. Procured. What's the word?
From the sea.
It's so good, I cannot say the word. Procured from the ganja man. Do you know the Muffin Man?
Who lives on Drury Lane?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying where he lives, but he brings those muffins.
Bring the muffins
hot
on.
And fresh. And it's quite delicious, this muffin.
I love that muffin.
Mm-hmm. Here, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks for that muffin.
You're welcome, Muffin Man.
Stuffing.
What I'm reading is, this has been an embarrassing choice. So what people may or may not know.
Spit it out already.
It's the book based off of one of my favorite movies because of some of my favorite actors are in this movie. So I love Jackie Brown, a Quentin Tarantino movie, because Pam Grier is in it, and she's Foxy Brown also.
She's a baddie.
She is. And so that's actually based off of a novel called Rum Punch by Elmore Leonard.
Oh, really?
It's from the 70s, and
that's dope.
So it is like a book. Like every good movie, right, is based off of a book, of course. But that's been my favorite movie since the 90s, and I have never read the book. It occurred to me the other day because I was telling someone about the movie, and they were like, "I've never seen the movie," and I'm always like, "What? You've never seen Jackie Brown?" Like I get all.
And then now you're like, "What? I haven't read the book."
Yeah, I did it to myself. I was like, "What comes around goes around." I gotta. But so I ordered it.
Are you liking it?
Yeah, I mean it's like a trash read for me. Like that's what I would consider like because it's also not good compared to the movie. So I am learning that because he did some things Tarantino switched up some of the characters in a way that makes them less interesting or more interesting. The dialogue is weak compared to the movie, which I guess of course has to be in certain ways. but it's not terrible. He's actually kind of like a pretty famous writer from what I understand, but he's not my genre.
Yeah, and it's not your style. I could see how
Mm-mm.
Tarantino is kind of like more detailed and way more like, I don't know. He's just so different.
Well, Tarantino's extra on playing on all the social and racial stereotypes. Like he's doing that on purpose to push our buttons in a way that like a book's not going to do, because the book's actually not even about race.
Yeah.
But that's what he does, right?
So that's cool, because usually people are like, the book is better than the movie.
Yeah, no.
So
no,
it's
see
cool
the movie.
to know it's opposite.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the movie, go read the book. Just because it's interesting to see like some of the characters in there, that how the dialogue changes. But then again, I'm kind of a psycho fan of the movie. Like I can recite the movie to you line for line in a weird way.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, dope. So that is what you are reading. And
what are you reading?
Reading. I'm actually reading what you got me. Tapping the Power Within by, how do you say her name?
Eckhart Van Zant.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody shout out to that. Everybody should know her.
Yeah, and everybody should really get, this is another one, and I think I say this about every book, but if you are a woman, I think it's very, because I'm dealing with like a loss in my family that we don't agree or see eye to eye with. And what's crazy, I don't know if you told the person that's what I was going through, but that's literally kind of the conflict that she has in the beginning of the book.
Is okay. Well, true facts. I went to the bookstore specifically when you were going through it that day, because we canceled book club. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do until you got back? So I went. I feel like I'm doing free promo for Pan-African Connection every episode, but I'm going to keep doing it because we love them.
Who was it who recommended it?
It was what day? She came. I went in and I walked up to the counter. I said, yeah, Jasmine's going through it, and explain what was going on with you. I just went out and told her. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, okay, tell her I'm sorry. And I'm thinking, she was real sweet about it. She didn't actually originally recommend it. I walked around the whole store, and other books spoke to me for other people first. And then I was on that shelf. Like I had already passed the book. And in my head, I was like, ooh, Iyanla Van Zant for Jasmine would be perfect. Because I think I was about your age when I started reading her too. And I remember it being like a really big experience. And then I wanted to read more of her stuff. And then, she has shows and stuff too. So you'll tap in. She has a whole YouTube channel. Like she's out there. And so I was standing in front of it for the second time, and she walked by and she handed it to me and put it right in my face. And she's like, what about that? I mean, she'll tell you. She's real direct,
She's like, I know this.
This is this. Yeah. And I got it.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. And it is an experience, and I love it. So thank you for giving it to me, darling.
Look, now after these ladies hear you on this podcast, they're going to be like, hold on. Now we done heard his voice. We done read his poetry. They're going to be a little bit, we're going to be getting some weirder DMs than we already do. Yeah, I appreciate you having this conversation with us. We definitely will be talking again. And if people want to get in touch with you, they can shout out to us at @defacto_books, and we'll get you in touch with him, let you know his information. If you want to write him a letter, he has plenty of time on his hands to write you.
I really don't.
No, he really do stay busy, but say you enjoying that. But we start off the podcast with what you reading, what you smoking. I guess in your case, it'd be more like what you reading, what you drinking, and he ain't drinking shit because they dry. And what you reading? Tell them what you reading.
I'm at the end of How the Word Get Passed by Clint Smith. It's been very informative, and I'm really like at the ass end of the book, and I gotta go back over what I do when I do read books. Especially, I know that I have to answer for them. I go back and I read them again, but I highlight, the things that caught my attention while I read it the first time. But that is what I'm reading, How the Word Get Passed by Clint Smith.
Yeah, man. We selling it out in all the bookstores in Oak Cliff. Shout out Wild Detectives, Pan African Connection, because we talk about it nonstop. So it is the book. It is the book to read. It should be taught in schools. That's what we think. We think it should be a number one textbook for students.
Very, very, very informative. I mean, it had me re-questioning the things that I've learned. And, by me being who I am, Black history was a must. We had to study it. It wasn't something that almost like mandatory for us to study it. But, it had me re-questioning some of that and looking deeper up into it. And I would recommend that everybody should read.
What are you writing?
Well, I just changed the direction of my poetry from, I guess you could say, it's moving from dark to light. My understanding of darkness throughout the years was that darkness need no light because darkness have a light of its own, and since it was familiar to me, then I was able to walk through the dark, because I knew my way around it. But as of now, I've redirected my train of thought. The darkness have been illuminated. So, and then I realized that they really don't go together. One will cancel the other one out, and light gonna always cancel dark out. So when you living in the light, then darkness no longer is there. But that is the direction of my poetry now, because it's speaking of, I guess you could say, like my heart and my mind being opened up, to experiences. I've come across people that have influenced it in my life. Vanessa V, she's one of the persons that have influenced the direction of the way that my poetry is going. And because I really didn't have a lot of faith or trust, I have trust issues, serious trust issues. And I really didn't have a lot of faith in people and things like that. But I'm writing more illuminated now, I guess you could say, because of the people that's in my life at this time. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the direction of it, and I didn't even think these kind of people existed in the world. I heard about them. I see them on TV and shit, the Cosby's.
That was an amazing conversation. And I'm sorry that we kind of got cut off there, guys, but that's sort of the nature of talking to people in prison is you really only get a 30-minute call at a time. And they really have to wait in line for a long time. And they only have limited day room time. So that was kind of it. But we will definitely be talking to Mr. again. And you guys can check out defactobooks.com for his most recent poetry collection. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
To a theater near you.
To a theater near you.
Why is everything a song today? This is some really
because
good
in
ganja.
Jasmine's world.
Hold on. That's about your ego. It is not Jasmine's world. It is everyone's world.
It's that voice in my head. You're exactly right. That is the voice in my head. That is
okay, well, so let's close with this question then. Because we've been talking about ego and dissolving it. But we always say this thing where it's but it's my story and I'm the main character of my story and everyone else is just a side character. So if I'm not focused on that, then I'm actually not in my right spiritual path. But is that true? If we're literally looking at being selfless, then we can't just be the main character because that's not true. Because you're one of the main characters in my show every day.
You're
I
one
talk
of my
to
main
you.
characters. Yeah.
I have a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say a lot because I've got a tight circle, but
we all teach each other such good lessons. I learned my best lessons from my friends.
I don't think we can really fully dissolve ego without having that type of community because we don't get to have the experiences where we have people say to you, hey, bitch, we got to go cry in the alley because you all in your shit and I'm feeling this way and you're feeling that way. And
what's human nature? It's literally insane to think that you can't exist in this world and not have an ego. I don't think that's at all what Eckhart is trying to say. He's no, it's a part of the human experience. It's just up to you to work on becoming aware of it because it is. It's going to come, it's going to go. And honey,
It's a roller coaster.
it's a roller coaster. But the
roller coaster.
I guess I just want to wrap it up with this last quote to kind of.
What would
Yeah,
Eckhart do?
Eckhart would maybe say, the ego isn't wrong. It's just unconscious. When you observe the ego in yourself, you're beginning to go beyond it. Don't take the ego too seriously. The ego isn't personal. It isn't who you are. Okay?
Okay.
So,
I like that.
yeah, don't identify with it because there you are. There goes the ego winning.
Be able to check it at the door and don't feel bad about yourself through the process.
And laugh at it. I listen to a lot of his interviews and I do that. Like I literally will be like,
Because you're like, I'm so stupid. What is wrong with me? Yeah.
what was that?
Why was I acting like a 5-year-old?
Evergard.
Yeah.
Let me call them.
And tell them how dumb I am. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Well, there you have it. That is what you do. And we will keep trying as well. From De Facto Books, this is 2 Peas in a Pod. If you like what you heard and want to support the community, visit defactobooks.com and click support.
You can also link up with one of our de facto kings and even sponsor a book club in prison.
If you liked what you heard, please click subscribe.
If you're interested in learning more about ego, healing, and trauma, we recommend the book A New Earth, Awakening Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle.
And if you're in the Dallas area, check out @Ra Kalan, a radical self-love coach who hosts Conscious Conversations, a super dope event.
2 Peas in a Pod is hosted by J.Nicholee Vdiggitydawg.
Audio editing and sound design by Derek B.
Music by Imperial Soul.
Thanks for listening, y'all. Hey, you over there.
Do you like what you just heard?
Then you should support the 2 Peas community by sponsoring our podcast.
It is a great way to get your product, craft, and brand noticed. And
It helps you network with the community's finest creatives and business owners.
so become a sponsor, damn it.
We have 3 packages to choose from, and we even have product trades for new and small business owners.
And we won't kill that marketing budget, honey.
Yo, go to defactobooks.com and click
Join.